All right, Dog fans, here we go. Welcome back to yet another edition of Talkin Huskies right here on Root Sports Northwest. Big thanks, of course, to our sponsor, our friend Catherine Clark and the law offices of Catherine Clark. And Cam, I've always wondered what it's like to drive off a cliff and survive with minor injuries or get pulled over doing 75 and a 30 and get away with a warning. I think we found out on Saturday night at Husky Stadium. My God, a 15-7 win by UW. Mish Powell saves the day in the fourth quarter with a pick six, and UW survives. How about what we saw Saturday, pal, at Husky Stadium?
Well, what we saw was a little bit of a hangover. We saw the reality of how hard it is to win in this conference. We saw a young man make a huge play as a pick six. We saw coaches trying to get guys ready. We saw guys shuffling positions. We saw injuries. You know what we saw, Dave? We saw football in October. It happens in the NFL. It happens in college. This is what football is like. It's called a season for my rhyme for a reason, because the reality is winning in this conference or winning in football or winning at all is massively difficult, especially when a team has 2 weeks to prepare for you, has a team that has an offensive coordinator that you had faced last year, has a defensive staff that knows how to coach against you, and certainly you're going to get the team's best effort. These are not excuses, guys. These are facts. Facts are not feelings. Feelings are not reality. Facts are when you play a season like this and you get targets on your back, you're going to get the team's best. And this was not the best. But here's the good part about this. You didn't play your best, you still won. And that's really all that matters.
Well, let's go back to Saturday night and talk about maybe the biggest question, Cam, coming out of the game. Leaving that stadium, on the air for the postgame show on radio on Saturday after the 15-7 win. Everybody asking, did Arizona State provide some kind of blueprint defensively for other teams to steal to slow down this Husky offense? Your thoughts on that?
Well, first of all, I got a chance to look at the film and look on the inside and see what Arizona State did very, very well with their defensive front. They ran a lot of interior games. They timed up a few things, and they did well against motion. They also did very well in their secondary of just holding base coverage. But I think what they did so well was they blitzed in the early and often, and especially on the inside against Washington. Look, we knew at the start of the season that the interior line was going to be a group that they were going to have to withstand pressure. And Michael Penix loves to hold in the pocket. He doesn't get 5-6 steps depth and then allow the defense to try to get there. He likes to hold. And that's where the pressure started to come. Even on runs, Dave, they did a great job with stunts, ETs, Dawgs, which come from Mike and Sam blitz. They were bringing six. They were in move. They'd line up wide with 3 gaps, and then they'd stem inside, all the way inside the center. That's a hats off. That was well prepared. That was 2 weeks worth of knowledge from getting used to that team. I don't think there's such thing as blueprints. I think there's adaptive on how you win it. But they did a very good job on defense.
Well, the offensive line certainly was in flux, big-time man on Saturday. We have seen Parker Brailsford, the redshirt freshman, at center, and then we have seen Gearin Hatchett at right guard. Saturday, we saw Brailsford at right guard and Gearin's brother Landon, the pure freshman, at center. So you had a pure freshman center, a redshirt freshman right guard, and Arizona State certainly took advantage of that, man, on Saturday. How concerned should Husky fans be about the status of the UW offensive line heading into this game with Stanford on Saturday?
Well, I think anytime you have young players playing, they have to get their feet wet. But yes, a true freshman at center, that's somebody that has to learn very quick, and that's Landon, but he has that ability. Parker is the most versatile player on that offensive line, Brailsford. He can go center, play both sides, left and right. They are a little bit undersized when it comes to looking at a Julius Bulow, of course, and Nate Kalepo, which are monsters. But when it comes down to it, you have to get experience. 78 new players came in to an Arizona State team. Those D linemen were transfers. Those guys have had experience. They knew what they were doing. You have to tip caps when you see that. They are on scholarship too. I always try to say, it's amazing. It's like, are those guys on scholarship? Are they good players? Yeah, they are. And so, yes, there is going to be a little bit of growing period with this offensive line in the middle, but they have to get better quickly. Coach Huff will do that. He is a great offensive line coach. He's going to do everything he can to get the right rotation, and we might get some guys back also.
All right, I'm not going to yell at you because I'm still trying to get my voice back from Saturday. Lost it a little bit on the Mish Powell pick six, but I will say this, that Washington is supposed to be at this point above having a game like that where they have to rely on their defense to score a touchdown because the offense cannot find the end zone, Cam, one time during that game. UW had 3 drives inside the 15-yard line, 4 drives inside the 27, and walked away with 9 points. What the heck happened to the red zone offense on Saturday? And I promise I won't yell at you.
Well, if it starts first, I mean, with the tip balls, and the one that was tipped, Rome was blisteringly wide open. I mean, so that's one where you would love to have it back, and it was pressure on the left side. And so where you have pressure, it was a situation where Mike just found a window and the ball got tipped. Okay, that's part of it. The turnovers are the ones that are a little bit concerning. Jay Polk, that doesn't happen very often. That is a strong, strong young man, and that's, okay, I can't explain it. I give you an example of it. It happened. The 2 picks also, the 1 pick was pressure. The second pick, I'm looking at it and I'm going, okay, does that happen to Mike? These are all concentration things. These are emotional things. These are things that these guys dealt with, and they faced a pretty good defense. I mean, let's give it what it was. It was a pretty good defense. In the red zone, though, the one that concerned me the most, Dave, was running the football. That's the one that I looked at from this game and went, you still have to be able to run the ball when you need to, and that was one thing that they have to really get right.
Well, we're going to come back and hear from Chuck Morrell, co-defensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb, the offensive coordinator, and also a little bit from Kalen DeBoer, and we're going to open up the mailbag. We're going to let you ask the Huskies on Talkin Huskies, coming next right here on Root Sports Northwest. All right, Dawg fans, back here on Talkin Huskies. Dave Softy, Mahler, Cam Cleland, producer Alex Altman. Big thanks to our friends at Nordstrom Heating and Air. You can find them on the web, by the way, at nordstromheating.com. Cam, the offense struggled mightily on Saturday versus ASU. Let's go back to Monday's press conference. Offensive coordinator Ryan Grubb talking about the biggest issues that he saw on film study after this win.
We looked at all the film, obviously, went through it, and there was just way too many times when the pocket was dirty and there was guys running open and just couldn't get a throw out. And I think Mike had at least 6 or 7 throwaways, like legitimate, just getting the ball out of his hand, throwing it away, and that's way too many. I'm okay with a couple in the course of a game, but bad pockets shouldn't force you to throw the ball away that much. So that was a problem, and then obviously the run game, we just could not get it started.
So there were a lot of questions about the play calling in this game. A 3rd and 10 sweep to Jalen Polk that went nowhere. Constant shuffling of the offensive line. Maybe Mike and the passing game, Cam, going for too much downfield, not taking what Arizona State was giving them. Obviously, the offensive coordinator, when the offense struggles, is going to take a lot of heat from the fans and media. That's just the way things are. But what'd you make of the game that Ryan Grubb had on Saturday?
Oh, I mean, he made calls and certain calls, and every call works because it's about execution. So when players have to make the perfect play or they have to make up for the gap of a bad call, certain situations I looked at it and I said, the 2-point play, all right, that was unique. I don't know about that. And certainly, you know, if there's a look that he likes and he sees a defensive look and it doesn't work, that's why you have 70 more to get right during this game. But Dave, the one that concerned me the most was 4 turnovers. I personally, you know how hard it is to win I don't even know if it's possible to sit there and look at a stat and say you've lost the turnover ratio like that and still won a football game. So how does that equate to the next game? And what do you do versus Stanford? You go back, you learn, you get on tape, you make things look different, you make adjustments. But coaches have bad days. That's part of reality. I'm not going to tell you that Ryan Grubb had a bad day. Just altogether, guys looked a little bit disconnected, but that will get right as the season gets better.
Well, Cam, you mentioned the defense, and the 4 turnovers by UW turned into 7 points for Arizona State. So a wonderful job by the defense on Saturday. ASU, Cam, had the ball in this game for almost 38 minutes, and they scored 1 time, the Sun Devils did. As a matter of fact, the Husky defense matched the Arizona State offense touchdown for touchdown, courtesy of Mish Powell with a pick 6. Here's co-defensive coordinator Chuck Morrell talking about what he saw on the biggest play of the game on Saturday.
You know, obviously came at a really important time in the game. They're in the red zone. We got to get the stop. We've been dealing with a lot of 4th downs here lately, and just to change the game. And I think, you know, for me to just looking for him, what a cool deal. I mean, your hometown, you make the game-winning play. It's something that's going to go down in history.
So Mish Powell was a former walk-on, went to O'Day High School, has been outside, has been inside, and had maybe the play of the year so far on Saturday. What'd you see from the pick six on Saturday night, pal?
I mean, how about his anticipation? By the way, on fourth down, yet another team we're going to face back-to-back weeks where fourth down seems like, well, we'll just treat it like first down. We don't care. That's the fear that this Arizona State team came in with. And this defense, dude, you mentioned it last week. We held Oregon with no points with 12 minutes in the fourth quarter. To again back that up, I think that you have to look at this and start saying that this Husky defense not only is underrated, it's undervalued how good they are. Because they are making plays. Now, it doesn't look like it all the time between the 20s, but when you needed to make a play like that, everybody was holding their breath. You're down 7-6 at that moment. They complete that pass, even if they kick a field goal. Did you feel confident the way the offense was going? No. And so Mish Powell makes that pick. They get a couple stops. The tackling was better. All the things that you needed from an offense or from a defense on a game like that, you got it done. And hey, defense wins championships. Last time I checked, this defense is getting better week in and week out.
Well, they are. And the point about the fourth quarter of the Oregon game, the 50 minutes of opposing offensive time of possession, the last two games, in the last 50 minutes, the opponent has scored one time, and that was the touchdown by ASU on Saturday. Still maybe a little bit concerned, Cam, about the lack of a pass rush, man. We are in week 8, and UW is second to last in the country in total sacks. There's only one team in America with fewer sacks than UW, and that's East Carolina. So the coaches will tell you that they're getting pressure. They're just not getting home and wrapping up quarterbacks, and they're affecting the passing game. 2 plays later, before that pick six by Mish Powell, Braylon Trice got right in Bourget's face and threw him to the ground. So the pass rush overall, you had 2 guys in ZTF and Braylon that you thought were All-American candidate-type players. That's not developing so far in the stat sheet.
Yeah, if we look at stats, and that can sometimes be a little overwhelming. So it is fair to start looking at pressures. That is something that you need to see. Are quarterbacks affected? Are they affected early in the game? Are they the type of quarterback that suddenly they start to see a little ghost, or they see a purple, or suddenly they start to rush? I will say that every game that I've seen so far, even going back to Arizona and Fafita, they got rid of the football early and often because they knew that if that pass rush got to them, it would continue, and it would continue. And so I will see. And as this defense has gotten better, and yeah, Braylon Trice is not putting up those monster sack numbers, and neither is ZTF, but their speed and their edge and their rotation and the pressure is affecting quarterbacks. That stat is showing up. We get caught up into the big numbers, all right, but if you face teams that are straight drop back teams, we have not faced drop back teams yet. You haven't played Colorado where they drop back all day long. That's not what their identity is. You will a little bit more in Stanford this week with a West Coast style offense. You'll see more of that. But typically, yeah, you would hope for more sacks, but I like the pressure that they're getting on quarterbacks.
Yeah, and believe it or not, as of right now, the Huskies are 23rd in the country in scoring defense and top 20 in passing yards per attempt. So maybe the formula is working. We'll come back. We'll open the mailbag, asking the Huskies on Talkin Huskies next right here on Root Sports Northwest. All right, Dog fans, welcome back to Talkin Huskies right here on Root Sports Northwest. Dave Softy Mahler, Cam Cleland, producer Alex Altman talking about the win Saturday over ASU and looking ahead to the Stanford game on Saturday. Cam, I would love to know how many Husky fans out there lost their voice like I did during the Mish Powell pick six on Saturday. And if you did, do you have it back yet? Because clearly I do not. Give us, first of all, your memories, your reaction in the radio booth when that play happened on Saturday night, pal.
Yeah, I got a little excited. I had a little emotional outburst. Something I need to keep to temper it, but I can't. I'm a dog for life. Prick me open, I'm going to bleed purple. That's how that works, man. But my voice might be a little more powerful than yours. I can keep it together, but unlike you, I don't have to talk for 17 hours a day.
Yeah, I would say go crazy. In the words of Jack Buck, go crazy. Fans love it when you go crazy, and so do I. All right, let's get to the inaugural edition of Askin' Huskies on Talkin' Huskies. We'll hit the mailbag every week if we can. Dwight Vokes wants to know, what the heck happens, Cam, after big emotional and physical games, or are the Dawgs just cursed against the Arizona schools?
I don't think they're cursed. I think that's part of this conference. I think that's part of college football. I'll give you my examples about what I've seen so far in this conference and see if you can make it make sense. Colorado, big win. Colorado State, what do? They emotional big win, right? They go on the road, get stomped by Oregon. Let's go to Utah. Utah, huge win versus UCLA, a slugfest, 14-7. What do? Friday night, 7:30 on the road, lose to Oregon State. Emotional letdown, huge. Washington State, big W versus Oregon State. What do? Lose to Arizona, or UCLA. Lose to Arizona. Lose to Oregon. How about USC with a monster W overtime win? Emotional. Huge. I'm going to use that word so often. When they go on the road to Notre Dame, they lose. Oh, let's not forget about UCLA. They beat Wazoo, who was undefeated at the time. What do? They lose to Oregon State. And then the team that we're facing this week, Stanford, well, they have a big win, 29-0. They're down. They come back and beat Colorado. But then what do they do the next week? They lose to UCLA 42-7. All I'm trying to say is this team had the emotional ups and downs on the road. Big win at Michigan State. Big tough win at Arizona State. Monster game at Oregon. The emotional. And what do they do the next week? They don't lose. They win 15-7. The reality is this team found a way to win a football game when everybody else in the conference, it's hard.
Yeah, and we saw on Saturday, Cam, Texas struggling, Oklahoma struggling, North Carolina losing at home to Virginia in Chapel Hill. There were a lot of tight games in the top 10 on Saturday. Kalen DeBoer, though, on Monday afternoon, Cam, talking about the emotion and how to deal with being uncomfortable.
I think most people would understand this even in the real world. When you're most uncomfortable, those are your times of your greatest growth. And I think, just hearing the players talk, even yesterday, they see this as a chance where we can have greatest growth as long as we continue to just push forward.
So I guess the question in the end, will this team be better off in the long run, Cam, because of what they've gone through the last 3 games?
Absolutely. No question. You learn more in your struggles than anything you've ever done in wins. I can tell you thousands of losses. I can tell you a couple good wins, but every time you go back, you study the film more. Okay, you criticize yourself more, and good teams and good players do not take it easy on themselves. There's no we'll find a... This is not. I'll tell you the truth. I don't know if I'd want to be a Husky this week during practice. I think it's going to be intense. I think the coaches are going to ramp it up a little bit. I think practice and conditioning might be ramped up a little bit. And going into Stanford, these guys are going to have a completely different mindset because it's back down on the road and on the farm versus all 7 fans they'll have down there and that tree. So let's figure it out and go do it on the farm.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out if there's more people on this show or more people in the stands for the Stanford game on Saturday, and there's just the 3 of us here, for God's sake. So we got to talk about that because that is a hard place to play. There's a reason, guys, why they call Stanford the library. More on that matchup coming up next right here on Talkin' Huskies. All right, Dawg fans, welcome back to Talkin' Huskies right here on Root Sports Northwest. Final segment for us. Cam Cleland, producer Alex Altman with us. My name is Dave Softy Mahler. And Cam, the Stanford Cardinal are struggling mightily. Got hammered at home by UCLA last week, 42-7 at the Farm. The Cardinal defense, 129th in the country in passing yards allowed, 126th in scoring defense, and 127th in total defense. This sounds like exactly what the doctor ordered after the offense struggled last Saturday.
Yeah, it does sound like a team that you could take advantage of, certainly. I mean, Troy Taylor, he knows how to coach football. He had a good record, Sac State, and then certainly comes in. He's a quarterback. He's going to run a West Coast style of offense. You're going to have to look at 2 crazy games. One being down 29-0, and then that happened. And then certainly I don't know what was going to show up on film when you watch UCLA with 42-7. This team is up and down. It looks like a team that's in a first-year coach, but Hey, we had a first-year coach last year, and he went 11-2. I think we're lucky. No disrespect to Stanford. It's hard to win there, but it's also hard to play there because it's anemic, it's quiet, it's got zero energy, but at least it's not a 7 o'clock start, and it's a 4 o'clock start, so the sun will be kind of up, and the grass, I don't know, I got a lot of things I don't like about going down there, and I will not miss going down there ever again in the history of this program. Peace out, Stanford.
Well, I tell you what, Kalen DeBoer talked on Monday about preparing for a game like this and banking on his weekday games in the MAC when there was nobody in the stands. And you got to do that. You got to be able to create and bring your own energy. Eric Iamander had almost 300 yards receiving against Colorado. He's a guy to keep on. Their quarterback, Ashton Daniel, hasn't done a lot so far yet this year. But if you allow Stanford to be in this game and give them any kind of hope, they will take advantage of it. So for me, as a Husky fan, and Cam, I'm sure you agree with that, they got to step on their throats from the jump on Saturday.
I 100% agree, Dave, and I think that this happens this game. Huskies are going to go down there with a mindset of pure, utter dog terror. Okay, so that's what they want to do in this game. There is a get-right mindset to that, and I'm sorry, Stanford, you're just going to have to deal with it. If I eat my words, I'll eat my words, okay? Just eat it, but I'm going to eat the W like Jameis Winston always liked to do, and I won't put that up and embarrass myself, but I will tell you, this dog team is going to be well ready for the challenge to go down on them. I don't care if there's 4 people. We might have more people on this set than it will happen in Palo Alto on the farm. Otherwise, it's a nice little stadium, but oh well.
Yeah, for sure. And then if you get this one, you get ready for a match with USC the following Saturday at 4:30 on national TV. Hey, you want to be a part of this thing we call Talkin Huskies every week? It's taking off, baby. It's getting bigger every week. TalkinHuskiesW@gmail.com is the email. Jump on that. Get a hold of us. Would love to have you jump on board as a sponsor. That's it for us. Big thanks to Alex Altman for putting this thing together and putting up with us again for one more week. We'll talk to you next week right here on Root Sports Northwest.